This is my review of the RWBY official manga, chapter 13. And I have mixed feelings about this chapter. I mean, on one side, it fixed a lot of the issues in the original series, and Blake is just so much better here. I just mean so much better. I mean, at this point in the main series, Blake was depressed, she was dark, she was working 24/7 to the point where she basically was killing herself, trying to figure out the next move, trying to figure out what they were planning, trying to figure out all that, and yet here she's like, it's okay, Ruby, we're going to figure this out together as a team that we are. Which, great, but at the same time, this means we lost out on what was arguably one of the best moments in all of RWBY. The point where Yang has essentially intervention with Blake and tells her, hey, listen up, you can't work yourself to death because I almost did that when I was a kid and it almost got Ruby killed. And it was such an emotionally powerful moment back then, and honestly one of the first of the series. It was just so amazing. I'm really sad they didn't include that in here. I mean, they might find a way to put it in later, but unlikely. I mean, like I said, it's not needed right now because Blake isn't that same person. She's managed to overcome the fear and anxiety and the self-hatred fairly successfully so far. Though this might cause issues down the road, when she actually abandons the team for a good year or so. I mean, her whole, logic behind doing that is essentially the fear that she's already overcome at this point. But we'll see how they do. I mean, like I said, they've done almost everything perfectly so far, so I wouldn't be surprised if they find a much better way of justifying her actions then. Anyway, they move on to a very depressed Sun, which I didn't know was actually a thing. He's a freaking sun. He's bright, he's happy, he's shining all the time. And here he's just like, oh, I can't make an impression on Blake. She doesn't even know I'm alive, really. And once again, an improved Blake. She thanks him for everything he's done, for all the effort he's put in, trying to help her out here. But again, that's stuff we didn't see from Blake till volume 5. It's just such an improvement on her character, and I really like it. And then he basically uses his emotional blackmail to ask her out on a date. And it works really well, and she blushes a little. It's a very cute moment. I really liked it. Anyway, then we switch over to Jean and Pyrrha, and they're talking about what's going to happen with the date, and John's all depressed because he can't find anyone to go with, and Pyrrha tries to explain to him, yeah, it's the same for me. I don't have anyone to go with either. And he's like, oh, please. If you end up alone, I'll wear a dress. Which is just such better justification for him wearing a dress than in the original. Again, the original, he's just like, well, I thought it wouldn't be weird if we were both embarrassed. I'm like, no, that makes no sense whatsoever. Here he's at least, following a promise he made to her, so that makes more sense, I guess. It's just still really weird. Anyway, then we get to the dance, and I do love Sun. He's wearing a tie, but with his regular old shirt completely unbuttoned. Of course, Neptune and Weiss aren't dancing because Neptune has, no rhythm whatsoever and can't dance at all. And just love that Yang's essentially the DJ for the party. It just works so well for her. Anyway, then we get to the losers. Ruby and John just kind of sitting on the side, watching everyone else dance. I do love that he actually asked her out, hey, should we rejects dance together? And she's like, hard pass. Just really emphasize, Ruby can't dance, and she doesn't like dancing, and she literally can't walk in high heels. She just, hates everything about this, essentially. She prefers combat, just further proving this isn't Ruby's world. This isn't the world she wants to live in. A world of parties and high-class society. Which would be very interesting if White Rose ever becomes a thing, Her complaining about having to be dragged to all the parties for Weiss. I know that probably won't happen, but just the thought of it really amuses me. Anyway, then John sees Pyrrha up on the second balcony, and she's like, oh, she's probably waiting for her hot date to show up. And Ruby's just like, John, just get the hell up there. I love that even Ruby, even the dunce blockhead Ruby, realized that Pyrrha is in love with John before he did. I mean, that is just hilarious. And just, Jesus Christ, Pyrrha's dress is, wow. That's something else right there. And that's the best I can whistle. So yeah, very, very beautiful dress. Really shows off her figure well, and that's all I can say without sounding perverted. So moving on, we find out a little bit more about Pyrrha's past. Essentially, she was always the best at literally everything she did, and everyone loved her for it. They praised her like, "Oh, you're so amazing. You're so good. You're so blessed." But eventually people realize, oh, I can't keep up with her. I'm not good enough to be her friend. I'm not good enough to be seen with her. And the distance grew, and she was isolated, alone, which is the reason why she loves John so much, because he didn't even know who she was. He, without a second thought, called her partner, was fine teaming up with her, even though she was so much better than he was at literally everything. All she ever really wanted was someone who truly wanted to be her friend, and that was John. And he actually flashes back to what she said before, and I'm kind of curious if he realizes here that she's in love with him. Because that's not something he noticed for a very long time in the original series. Until she basically straight out and said it. So yeah, definitely interesting if he's aware of her feelings now. I'm not sure how that would affect the series moving forward, but I'm definitely interested in finding out. Anyway, then John shows up in a dress because as he says, we ARC men are true to our word. Just Jesus Christ, John. That was just, honestly, it was probably the sweetest thing ever. And then he goes down on a knee like he's proposing to ask her to dance, and it's just, oh my god, most awkward, weirdest thing ever. I absolutely loved it. So yeah, now they're dancing. It's not just a, hey, let's all be awkward and dance together. It's more emotional and deep than was the main series, and I really like this. Like I said, this one is so much better, and I would have no problem with them starting RWBY back over from the beginning and just following this as their handbook. Anyway, then Salem goes, attacks the Atlas Tower in a skin-tight outfit that leaves very little to the imagination. And then RWBY shows up to stop her, and it's weird. Like, she has, before she, felt her, she saw her bouncing from rooftop to rooftop, and that's when she did it. But here, she says what's this weird feeling? What's this sense I have that something's wrong? I'm not sure if they're going to expand on that, like RWBY can sense danger coming or something like that. It'd definitely be a big break off from the main series, but, they could explain it as, she felt the negativity in Cinder's aura and decided to go after her because of that. Just a thought. Also, Cinder comes right out and says that, she's working with Roman, which, that's helpful. In the past, she just theorized they're working together, but, coming right out and saying it really helps RWBY with the deduction moving forward. And then we just get this absolutely amazing final shot. I'm not much for dancing or parties. Battling bad guys is more my speed. God damn, I love you, RWBY. So yeah, next chapter, the big battle between the two of them, and I'm really excited to see how this goes. In the main series, a few seconds of them hitting back and forth, and then she just disappeared, and they couldn't find her. I'm curious if they improve on that in any way in this. Show off her, full limit of her powers. Show what RWBY can really do. Curious if she's gonna have any trouble, fighting in a dress like that. She's still wearing high heels, which is definitely going to be a problem for her when, she's shown before that she can barely even walk in them, so that's going to be fun. Anyway, I'm really excited for that, but let me think about the chapter down below. How'd you feel about them cutting out Yang's story about her mother? How do you feel about John promising her to show up in a dress? And just the entire John scene. Like I said, a lot different from the main series, and I think it really shows off more emotion this way, but let me know all that down below. Be sure to like, subscribe. Until next time,
peace.